Hello, and welcome to the final episode of season 2 of What Now? I can't believe how fast this season went, and the way that I started in the summer is crazy to me because now the sun is setting at 4:30 and it's cold. So that's just lovely. Anyways, for this final episode of season 2, I wanted to look back and reflect and talk about, how the season came to be, what I learned, your and my favorite episodes, and what I hope for the future of What Now. I'm so excited. This kind of feels a little bittersweet, but let's just dive right in. Okay, so I just want to talk about kind of how season 2 came to be a little bit, just to give a little background and I don't know, just to reflect. But basically, I remember when I was planning season 2, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. What I knew is that I wanted to create more episodes that reflected where I'm at because that really resonated with you guys in the first season. In the first season of What Now, I reflected on college during my senior year, and then I also was sharing my live thoughts leading up to graduation. At the same time, I was also figuring out just even how to do podcasting and for the first time. So season 1 was kind of all over the place and it was messy and beautiful and crazy, but you have to start somewhere. So then for season 2, I was brainstorming. I actually took a couple breaks after season 1 to digest it all, and honestly to digest the fact that I had just graduated college, and I'm not gonna lie, that's when I started to feel the weirdness of post grad. And I was going through it a bit. And I had all these questions and thoughts, and I was I was honestly a little bit lost because I was like, what do you mean? I'm like an adult now. I have to find a job. I have to figure this out. It's scary. So I was like, you know what? The only way out is through. So I was like, what if I just talked about it and actually did some research and gained some insight from the questions that I was having and to just better understand this weird period in your life. So as you guys know, this season I enjoyed doing some research. I dived into some successful individual stories in the Where Were They series, and overall I just actually wanted to dig into topics that come up in my day-to-day as a 20-something. And I was looking back the other day at the early episodes from the season, and I don't know, even though it wasn't that long ago, I was kind of reminiscing because I was like, wow, this stage of post grad, I was so caught up in the doom of uncertainty, and I was like, oh my gosh, listening back to this episode, and it made me remember where I was at, even though it wasn't that long ago. And so I don't know, I kind of love having a mini time capsule of what I was thinking in a time period of my early 20s. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of season 2's vibes and what I was going for, and I'm curious, how that resonated with all of you. But anyways, for the next thing I wanted to do in this episode is do a What Now Wrapped inspired by Spotify Wrapped. So if you have Spotify, then you know that every year they do a Spotify Wrap where they tell you your favorite songs, your top artists, your vibe, all of that. And I thought it could be really fun to do that for season 2 of What Now. So I'm going to start with the most played episode, which was 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a College Freshman, which I made during the beginning of the fall semester of college during the fall semester of the college season. I'm really happy that resonated with you guys. Okay, my most replayed episode, Why Boredom is Actually Trying to Tell You Something. So shout out you guys who were also bored, because that is purely why I made that episode. My biggest surprise hit, one I did not expect people to love, but I knew I was excited about, is the first episode of the Where Were They series. Definitely was trying something new there. I found it pretty inspiring to look up, where people were in their 20s that we now call successful. And you guys really liked it, so that made me really happy. Okay, so for some more listener stats, What Now this season was streamed in 51 countries, which honestly I can't wrap my head around. Because I was just looking at the list and I was like, what do you mean my podcast reached the opposite end of the world of where I'm at right now? That just baffles my mind. I have been flabbergasted. Anyways, the top 3 listening countries out of the 51 were the US, India, and Brazil. So I just think that's so cool. I did not think I could reach like so many different people. On social media, the most liked post on Instagram this season was the Meet Your Host post. So thanks, guys. That made me blush a little bit. I can't lie. And on TikTok, it was my Where Were They episode 2 promo post, which is at like 300,000 views right now. Crazy. I get notifications for that post like every day, and I'm like, wow, like I'm so happy that this resonates with so many people, because it really did with me, and it really struck a chord in the sense of like seeing how like these people like evolved and adapted and became successful. I don't know. But anyways, that was the most liked post on TikTok. And then finally, the most reshared post on Instagram is actually the promo post for the first episode. It's the one where I wrote letters to the class of 2025 using quotes from the commencement speakers I talked about. I really loved that episode. I thought it was my first one of the season. My mom actually gave me the idea to make that episode. So yeah. All right, so I wanted to talk next about what making this season taught me. So first and foremost, I have to share that this season taught me to honestly be more present. And I say that because I think as I was starting this season, like I said, I was starting my job hunt, and I just couldn't stop thinking about my future, and it was stressing me out so much. But then making these episodes, learning to be okay with uncertainty, learning how so many successful people were not where they were in their early 20s, all of that really grounded me and made me realize that, somehow it will all work out. And it doesn't all need to be figured out in one go. And it's important to enjoy this in-between moment of your life and this transition period. And I've heard a lot of people in my life say, that like the in-between moments and like the parts where you don't know what's going on is like where life happens. And I think that, we get scared by that, but it's kind of like true. I mean, when you reach your destination, it's like a lot of the times, at least for me, I'm like, oh, okay. And the crazier parts and the life parts were like the parts right before. So on that note, when I talk to people in their post-grad lives who have jobs, I promise so many of them tell me to enjoy this period, because you can breathe for a second before your life takes another change and you're working a 9 to 5 or whatever you're doing, and it's completely different. So now another thing I learned during the season, both in terms of my 20s and making the podcast, is patience. Success certainly does not happen overnight. Hard work and consistency are what will lead you there. And with the podcast in the middle of the season, I actually felt so burnt out. I think I mentioned this in one episode, but my dad had actually told me to take a break from everything for like a week. And it was honestly the best advice. I needed to hear that, and because it made me feel so much better to take that break. I think I was getting really frustrated because I was working so hard on the podcast and I was working so hard on job hunting, and I was making sure that I was taking care of myself too when I really wasn't. Because in reality, I was looking at my success and like the amount of listeners I was having on episodes, the view counts on my social media, if I was getting job interviews, I was able to find more potential opportunities. And I'm saying this because I just totally ignored all the hard work that I was putting in, which was, to my dad's point of like, you need to like take a break, because just because you don't see, numbers or anything, that doesn't mean that you're not working hard. And just like I said, for all the people in my Where Were They series, it can take a long time to get to where you want to go. And I honestly am still figuring that out. But that doesn't mean that, you're not already working hard to get there. So I just wanted to say that if you guys have, a business, a project, you're job hunting, anything like that, and you're working hard, but you're not really sure, where it's going or if it's good or anything like that, you need to remember to give yourself some grace and acknowledge that no matter the result, like you're putting in the work, and that's what matters. And success doesn't happen overnight, and you don't need others to tell you that you're doing great to recognize that on your own. Okay, so now I wanted to talk about looking ahead to season 3, which is so crazy. First and foremost, I have to say that season 3 will come out in the new year. I like to take breaks between my seasons, as I mentioned. However, I will probably still post at least on my socials occasionally, so make sure you follow me at What Now Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. I can't exactly say what season 3 will look like just yet because I have a million ideas to think about and I haven't like sat with them at all. But I will say I definitely do miss talking with other people on the pod. So I'm really hoping to bring that back. You may see some new or familiar faces, but I don't know yet. So you'll just have to tune in when season 3 comes out. But really, though, every season I find a new voice, I feel, and I'm excited to bring out more in understanding our 20s and life and how to navigate it and answer all these questions that pop up that you were just not sure how to deal with. So yeah, that's season 2. That's officially the end of season 2 of What Now. Seriously, thank you to everyone who's listened, who's shared an episode, who sent me messages, who's even just pressed play once. And I don't care if it's for 10 seconds. You're still helping me, so thank you. I'm grateful that this show keeps finding people who get it and who can relate. Anyways, I cannot wait to continue this next season, to continue, engaging with you guys and learning from each other and going through it together. And thanks for listening to this season 2 of What Now. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, we're all just figuring it out as we go.